Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited about today's video. I was super inspired by this picture that I found on Pinterest, and I thought there's got to be a way to recreate this on a cup, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm working with a 10-ounce stubby cup, and I already painted it white with a flat white spray paint. If I could go back in time, I would have done 2 solid coats of the white spray paint. I just did a really quick, messy coat, and I paid for it later. I'll tell you why further into the video. Once my spray paint was fully dry to the touch, I started kind of sketching the lines for my design with a pencil. And really, I'm just trying to get proportions of all the geode sections, I guess you would call that. I've also got some adhesive holographic vinyl, and on the paper backing, I'm just going to sketch out some more of those kind of shapes using my photo from Pinterest as a reference point. Once I've got all these little sections drawn out on my holographic vinyl, I'm going to cut them out with a pair of scissors, and then I'm going to hand place them around the cup in kind of a position that flows with the cup. My goal here was to have some sections that had the holographic backing and some that just have the matte white paint. It's going to give some contrast to the look of our inks, and it's going to look really cool. But of course, you could just do silver holographic vinyl around the whole cup if you wanted to. Just know it's going to be a little trickier later if you want to do all silver holographic vinyl. Once I've got that all laid down, I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I am just going to start outlining my sections with hot glue. Being mindful of the peaks and valleys that I am creating with that hot glue. We want to have some lines that are thick, some lines that are thin, some that are completely pressed down, just to give a really cool organic look. I thought the hot glue looked really cool in this design, almost like gilded gold, separating the different cells and sections. If you don't like your hot glue line, you can just easily pull it up once it dries. The hot glue is not going to bond to that matte white spray paint very well. So on the other hand, you also need to be very gentle with this because you can easily disturb or pull up some of that hot glue if you're not careful. The hot glue that goes around that silver holographic vinyl, though, is bonded very well, and it's very hard to pull up. If you had to pull it up, you would almost have to pull up that whole little vinyl section. One thing that I did not think about is how my hot glue would affect how the cup balances when you place it flat on a table. So just be mindful to keep the hot glue away from the bottom rim of the cup where the cup sits against your table. Otherwise it'll be wobbly and nobody likes that. I ended up having to remove some of the hot glue later so that my cup would sit flat. So just keep that in mind. This is my first time ever making this design, so truly some of this was a little bit of trial and error. I edited out some of the error parts from the video, but I will help you guys learn from my mistakes. Once we've got all the hot glue and vinyl laid down and our design is kind of plotted out how we want it, I'm going to start applying the inks. This is where it's really important that your hot glue is completely bonded to the cup, because when we drop the inks into these little cell sections that we've created, the ink will bleed underneath the hot glue and get into the other sections, and that's not what we want. When I first started working on this, I thought dropping the inks into the different sections would be really cool. And for the most part it's just very hard to control the inks when you're just trying to drop them into those little puddles. So I eventually got some medicine cups and started dropping my inks into the medicine cups and applying it with a paintbrush. I also have several different clean cups that are just rubbing alcohol only, and I have clean cups for all the different color sections. So for example, there's a clean cup for the blues, clean cup for the yellows and the pinks, etc. And that way, when I'm trying to blend some of the colors with a little extra rubbing alcohol, I'm not contaminating the other color sections. What I love about this technique is that you're able to isolate alcohol ink color blending and the pooling and watercolor effects that happen without that going over into the next section. So everything doesn't end up looking like kind of a blended whatever. So you're able to create these really cool pools of color and effects in just that little sectioned off area, which I think was a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with this technique. I thought it would be cool to add in like some glitter into some of the sections. You have this little wall kind of guarding whatever it is that you're doing in that one little isolated section. So really the sky's the limit there. I think it's so much fun. And what's so cool is if you didn't want to keep the hot glue, you can easily pull it up after your ink's dry and not include the hot glue into your design at all, but still have that separation of color. I just like the hot glue there because it looks like, you know, that gilded gold that we were talking about earlier. The technique here for the painting is really simple. I'm just painting on some of the ink from the ink cup and then blending it with my clean brush from the clean cup that has just the plain rubbing alcohol. If something's looking a little too muddled or you don't like the color, you can easily just go over it with some more rubbing alcohol and a different color ink, and it'll wash most of that underneath color away. So much fun to work with alcohol inks, especially in this capacity where you have all these little windows to experiment with different colors and blending techniques. I really did have a lot of fun with this. Earlier in the video, I had mentioned that I wish I had done a thicker coat of the white matte spray paint. And that's because the alcohol inks sometimes have a higher alcohol count than some of the other colors, and when you put them onto the cup, it could sometimes take away some of the paint. It'll eat through it and it'll expose the stainless steel down below. So the way to get over that is to just make sure you do 2 really solid coats of that white spray paint. Or if you didn't want to deal with spray paint, you could purchase the pre-prepped cups from the Tipsy Magnolia. I have a link for their shop down below in the description box along with a discount code, so check those out. They'll definitely save you some time. To do the rainbow tie-dye effect, all I did was take this first pink color, then I put in the neon yellow color right up against that pink, but don't touch the pink quite yet. Then I went in with the teal. Guys, I can't remember every single name of these alcohol inks, but I will list all the ones that I used in the description box. Next, I'm going to add in this teal right up against that yellow. Again, being careful not to go directly over it. And then I'm going to do like this indigo blue purple down here at the bottom. Next, I'm going to take my clean brush mixed in just rubbing alcohol. That's our clean cup for the pink colors. And I'm going to run that right along the pink and yellow where they kind of intersect, and that's going to create this beautiful blending effect. Same thing for the teal and the blue. I'm just going to add a little bit of the clean alcohol with a clean brush, run those 2 between the colors, and that causes that beautiful tie-dye blending effect. Once I've got all my ink down and I'm happy with the look, I let it dry for a couple hours, and then I came back with my gold pen. This pen I got from Sarah from Banff Custom Creations. I'm not sure if she ended up selling these on her website or not yet. I will link a pen down below in the description box that I got from Amazon that I like as well. That'll work just as good since I don't exactly know where to find this exact pen. But you're just going to paint over the lines from your hot glue and just fill in all those little nooks and crannies again to get this really pretty gilded gold effect. You will get some ink deposit onto your felt tip for your gold marker. If that happens, just wipe the tip of your marker off on a paper towel and keep going. I also like to add in a little extra lines as well, almost to look like some gold veins and cracks, just to add some extra interest. Here you can see me removing some of the glue from that bottom rim where it sets against the table because it was wobbly. So I'm having to remove some of that hot glue with my craft knife just to make sure that the cup sits flat on the table. This could have easily been avoided if I just not put hot glue there, but again, I wasn't thinking. It was my first time doing this, so whatever, not a big deal. I'm just removing some of that hot glue very carefully because remember, that hot glue does not stick very well to that flat white spray paint. So once we get that hot glue removed, we'll just make our gold line in place of where the glue once was, and nobody will be the wiser. If you notice any white spots or parts that need to be touched up with some of the ink, you can do so easily with just a Sharpie marker. I went along some of those gold veins lines where the ink didn't fully connect at the line or whatever, or someplace just looked a little weird. Simply color it in with your Sharpie marker. We're going to let the marker and the inks dry overnight before we move on to the next step. I would highly recommend not sealing your inks. We don't want these to discolor or run or mess up anything. So just let those inks dry really, really well before you put your epoxy on. Let it sit overnight, maybe a full day, okay? Once everything's fully dry, I'm going to apply 30 milliliters of my Artist Cure formula. You could use the Fast Cure as well for this step if you were in a hurry, but I am not. One thing we need to be careful for is really getting the epoxy into all those little nooks and crannies around the hot glue so we don't miss a spot. I'm going to hit this with my torch to pop any bubbles, and we're going to let it dry for about 8 hours before we move on to the next step. I noticed after epoxying that some of the ink kind of saturated that gold marker while the epoxy was curing. So I went back over all the gold lines with my gold marker again before applying my final coat of epoxy. This cup took 2 final coats before it was completely done. And for those wondering, yes, you can feel the hot glue through the epoxy. All right, so there is some texture to the cup, but I'm okay with that. You know, not every cup has to be completely smooth, and I think this gilded gold look is such a fun design element, and the cup feels very tactile and cool in your hand. There's no sharp or pokey bits sticking out. You could just feel a little raised bump in the area where the hot glue is. All right, you guys, so let me know, how did I do? Here was my inspiration photo once again. And here is the finished look. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun making this. I think it's so cool, and I might be delusional and think it's a really neat design. Maybe you guys think it's hideous. I just had so much fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're going to recreate this, please be sure to tag us on social media because I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and
Thanks
Saturday.
so much for watching my video, and we'll
See
see you again soon.